The year is 1773, a time of great tension and anticipation in the American colonies. Imagine Boston, a bustling port city on the edge of a vast ocean. The air is filled with the sounds of commerce and the scent of the sea. Ships with towering masts crowd the harbor, laden with goods from distant lands. These vessels are the lifeblood of the city, bringing in everything from spices to textiles. Among them, the most coveted cargo tea. This precious commodity is more than just a drink, it is a symbol of status and culture. But this is no ordinary beverage. These crates bear the mark of the East India Company, a powerful entity backed by the British Crown. This tea represents a brewing storm, a tempest of defiance about to be unleashed upon the mighty British Empire. The colonists are growing restless under the weight of oppressive taxes. Our story revolves around a simple yet powerful act, the refusal to drink tea. This act of defiance is a spark that will ignite a revolution. But this is no childish tantrum, it's a political statement, a resounding no to unfair taxation without representation. The cry for liberty echoes through the streets. The colonists, fiercely independent, are about to demonstrate their resolve in a most dramatic fashion. Plans are being made in secret meetings, and the air is thick with anticipation. Fasten your tricorn hats, for the Boston Tea Party is about to begin. This night will go down in history as a pivotal moment in the fight for American independence. At the heart of this brewing rebellion lies a behemoth, the British East India Company, a corporation that would come to symbolize the very essence of British colonial power. Imagine a corporation so powerful it rivals governments, wielding influence not just in Britain but across the globe. Its reach extended across continents, from the bustling ports of India to the far-flung colonies in America. This is the titan that controlled the seas, its fleet of ships dominating the maritime trade routes of the 18th century. These ships were laden with precious cargoes of spices, silk, and of course tea, the lifeblood of British commerce. For the colonists, tea wasn't just a drink, it was a daily ritual, a symbol of Britishness itself, deeply embedded in their culture and social fabric. The East India Company, flush with tea from its vast plantations, faced a significant problem, a surplus that threatened to cripple its profits and destabilize its economic power. Their solution? The Tea Act of 1773, a piece of legislation that granted them a monopoly on tea sales in the American colonies, effectively controlling the market. This act, seemingly insignificant at first glance, ignited a firestorm of resistance and anger among the colonists. The colonists saw it for what it was, a blatant attempt to control their commerce and stifle their freedom, a direct challenge to their autonomy and way of life. The streets of Boston buzzed with indignation. In coffee houses and taverns, heated debates raged. Shopkeepers, artisans, and even the lowliest dock workers felt the sting of injustice. How dare the British government dictate what they could and could not buy? How dare they impose taxes without their consent? Pamphlets circulated, fiery words penned by the likes of Samuel Adams and John Hancock, fanning the flames of dissent. The Sons of Liberty, a clandestine group of patriots, organized and strategized. They knew they had to act, to deliver a message so bold, so audacious, that it would reverberate across the Atlantic. Section 4, The Night of the Disguises. A fateful strike, December 16th, 1773. A crisp chill hung in the air as darkness descended upon Boston Harbor. Under the cloak of night, a group of men, their faces obscured by paint and feathers, gathered at the waterfront. They were disguised as Mohawk Indians, a symbol of their own native identity. Their target, 3 East India Company ships, their holds brimming with the very tea that had become a symbol of British tyranny. With quiet determination, they boarded the vessels, the only sound the gentle lapping of waves against the hulls. And then it began. Chests of tea, each one representing oppression, were heaved overboard, their contents swallowed by the icy depths. Section 5, The Aftermath, ripples in the harbour. The morning sun revealed a harbour transformed. Thousands of pounds of tea, a small fortune, lay strewn at the bottom of the bay. The air, thick with the scent of salt water and rebellion, crackled with tension. News of the Boston Tea Party spread like wildfire, igniting astonishment and outrage in equal measure. King George III and the British Parliament were furious. They saw this act of defiance not as a protest against unfair taxes, but as an act of open rebellion. Their response was swift and harsh, enacting a series of punitive measures that would become known as the Intolerable Acts. Section 6, the Sons of Liberty, Architects of Rebellion. Behind the scenes, the Sons of Liberty, the masterminds of this audacious act, watched with a mix of trepidation and grim satisfaction men like Samuel Adams, a firebrand orator, and John Hancock, whose flamboyant signature would forever be etched in the annals of history, had taken a monumental gamble. They knew the consequences could be dire, but they also understood the stakes. The Boston Tea Party was not merely about tea, it was about freedom, about the right to self-determination. It was a line drawn in the sand, a declaration that the colonists would no longer be treated as subservient subjects. Section 7, Legacy of Defiance, A Nation Awakens. The Boston Tea Party was a spark that ignited a revolution. On a cold December night in 1773, American colonists, frustrated by British taxation without representation, took a bold stand. Disguised as Mohawk Indians, they boarded British ships and dumped 342 chests of tea into Boston Harbor. This act of defiance was more than just a protest against a tax on tea. It was a statement of intent, a declaration that the colonies would no longer passively accept British rule. It galvanized the colonists, uniting them in their opposition to British rule. The news of the Boston Tea Party spread like wildfire, igniting similar acts of resistance in other colonies. Meetings were held, pamphlets were distributed, and a sense of shared purpose began to take hold. The colonists were no longer just subjects of the British Crown. They were becoming a unified people with a common cause. From the bustling taverns of Boston to the small farmsteads on the frontier, a new spirit of defiance arose. In taverns, people debated and discussed their future, while on farms, families prepared for the possibility of conflict. This spirit of defiance was not limited to the cities. It permeated every corner of the colonies, from the coastal towns to the rugged frontier. The fight for independence had begun in earnest. Men and women from all walks of life joined the cause, forming militias and preparing for the battles ahead. The Continental Congress convened, and leaders like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams emerged to guide the fledgling nation. The colonies were no longer just rebelling, they were fighting for their very existence. The events of that cold December night in Boston Harbor resonated far beyond the shores of the New World. The Boston Tea Party became a symbol of resistance and a rallying cry for those seeking freedom and self-determination. It inspired other revolutionary movements around the world, showing that ordinary people could challenge and overthrow oppressive regimes. It served as a beacon of hope for oppressed people everywhere, a testament to the power of ordinary citizens to rise up and challenge tyranny. The legacy of the Boston Tea Party is not just an American story. It is a universal one, reminding us that the fight for freedom and justice is a timeless and global struggle. The Boston Tea Party, a defiant act of protest, secured its place in history not just as the destruction of tea, but as the birth pangs